Hello, my name is River, and welcome to my channel. And yes, I am making another Sims video, but I'm not actually going to be playing The Sims today. Today, I want to talk about some of the controversies that The Sims has been in throughout its 25 years of existence. The most recent controversy that The Sims has been a part of is the fact that EA was sold to private investors in Saudi Arabia. These investors are really conservative, which is scary since The Sims has always been a pretty progressive game. I mean, even in The Sims 1, which was released in the year 2000, allowed for your Sims to engage in same-sex relationships. So the fact that the game was bought by some pretty conservative people is pretty scary, but I really hope that they won't touch The Sims 4 too much. It seems like they bought EA mostly for the sports games and aren't really interested in The Sims. Still, it's a little bit worrying. The Sims has come so far in representation for people of all different colors, genders, cultures, and sizes. I doubt that they'll remove any features already in the game, but I'm worried about the future. I know a lot of people have been wanting a pack that represents African countries, and people have been wanting more representation for disabilities and transgender people. I fear that we may not get those things in the future due to these private investors. It really sucks that a game I love so much and have spent so much time and money into may be ruined because of some old evil people who just want money. I'm still going to make content on The Sims 4 and other Sims games as long as the representation we already have in the game stays. If they start removing things, I'm not going to associate with the game anymore. Anyways, I'm yapping too much, so let's actually get into the video. The Sims 4 definitely has the most controversies out of all of the Sims games. It was, and still is, for lack of a better word, a disaster. A lot of people hated the game when it first released in 2014, and seeing how great the previous games were, I don't blame them. When The Sims 4 was released in 2014, it was missing a ton of content that was in all three previous games. Some of the most iconic features, like the open world in The Sims 3, ghosts, toddlers, pools, basements, the color wheel, story progression, usable cars, and many NPCs were nowhere to be seen. There were so many missing features I can't name them all in this video. I'll just go through a few, starting with no open world. The Sims 3 introduced a completely open world. Before, in The Sims 2, if you wanted to leave your house and go to another lot, you had to sit through a loading screen. In The Sims 3, you could take your sim wherever you wanted, and there would be absolutely no loading screens. You simply wanted to stop by your neighbor's house for a moment and go back home, you could, and you didn't have to wait through a 5-minute loading screen. The Sims 4 simply just did away with this feature. While your sim is able to walk through the neighborhood, if you wanted to enter another lot, you'd have to sit through a loading screen. While I did wish The Sims 4 had an open world, I understand why it's not in the game. The Sims 3 is known for being extremely laggy and prone to crashes, and one of the reasons for that is the open world. Most people can't even run the game due to its age, but also the open world. Still, I wish The Sims 4 had some kind of compromise, like they could have had open neighborhoods. So if you wanted to go to another building that is right next to them, you didn't have to sit through a loading screen. This would be less laggy than an entire world being loaded all at once, but it still makes things easier for the player. The next feature that was missing were ghosts. Ghosts were in all three previous games. After your Sims died, they would leave behind an urn or a grave, and if you kept this urn or grave on your lot, there would be a possibility of the Sims ghost showing up at nighttime. The ghosts had special abilities, like they could break objects, possess objects, scare Sims, and walk through walls. They even had special features depending on how they died. For example, if they died by drowning, they would leave behind water puddles wherever they went. Ghosts were added in The Sims 4 in a later update, but I still think it's strange how this iconic feature was not in the initial release. Though Another feature with ghosts that is still missing is the ability to have children with them. In The Sims 3, you could have a baby with a ghost. If a human sim and a ghost sim had a baby, there would be a 50-50 chance of the child being a ghost or a human. I think this is a really fun feature and I wished it was in The Sims 4. The next thing is toddlers. The toddler life stage was introduced in The Sims 2 and was again a feature in The Sims 3. This life stage was perfect for people who like to have realistic family gameplay, which is most of the player base. So getting rid of this feature was ridiculous. When you had a child in the game and they're going to age up, they went from a newborn baby to a kid who looks 8 or 9 years old. Toddlers weren't introduced in The Sims 4 until 2017. That's 3 whole years that the game was out with a whole life stage being missing. Now that we have toddlers, I think The Sims 4 really did them best. There's so many things to do with them and they're really a lot more thought out than previous games. Though when they were finally in the game, another controversy came up. Only after a few months of toddlers being in the game, they released a stuff pack for toddlers. At the time, toddlers did not have much clothing or furniture items, so locking more of these things behind a paywall did not sit right with people. There was also an item in that pack that people did not like, the ball pit. When it was first released, the ball pit's texture looked horrible. It was just a flat, low-resolution image of ball pit balls. Eventually, the texture was changed, and it was made to look more 3D than just a flat image. Something else that was not added were pools. Pools seem like a pretty simple and basic thing to have in a life simulation game, but nope, not in The Sims 4. These were added in a later update, of course, but pools just seemed like such an easy thing to put into the game, but for whatever reason, they were missing for a short period of time. The last missing feature I'll talk about are the many iconic NPCs. NPCs were in all of the games and would show up around your Sim's house or in the neighborhood. Some of the NPCs that were missing include burglars who would show up at your house at night and steal your expensive items, the repo man who would repossess some items if you hadn't paid your bills in a while, the exterminator who you could call to come kill bugs in your house, the social worker who would take your kids and pets away if you weren't taking care of them, and many more. Some of these NPCs were added in updates or packs, and some are still missing to this day. Now we're going to move on to controversial packs. I didn't mention this before, but if you don't know what packs are, they're DLC for the game. There's 4 categories of packs: expansion, game, stuff, and kit. There's an excessive amount of DLC for this game, and many of them are lackluster compared to packs in previous games. I'll just be talking about the most infamous ones. As mentioned before, the toddler playdate stuff pack was not well liked due to the ball pit and having to buy content for something that just came out a few months ago. Another pack that was not well liked was the My First Pet stuff pack. This pack added more animal-related objects and more clothing items for cats and dogs. And it added 4 new pets, though they all function the same. It added hamsters, rats, hedgehogs, and a fake creature called a miniature Bobolus. The reason this pack was so controversial is because it required you to buy another pack. Otherwise, some items would be missing or wouldn't work. The expansion pack, Cats and Dogs, came out before this pack. If you wanted access to the pet clothing and other pet furniture in My First Pet stuff, you had to own Cats and Dogs first. A DLC for a DLC definitely did not sit right with people, and it was hated by the community for a long time. The next one is My Wedding Stories game pack. This pack seemed perfect for people who like family gameplay. It gave the player more flexibility with their Sim's wedding. The wedding activities were more customizable and more wedding items were added, like more dresses and more arches. Unfortunately, when this pack came out, it was extremely buggy. Sims couldn't walk down the aisle, they couldn't cut the cake together, exchanging vows didn't work, and so much more. A lot of these glitches have been fixed, but it is still extremely glitchy to this day. The fact that they released this pack with all of these game-breaking bugs made people pay full price for the pack, and it is still not fully fixed after more than 3 years of it being released is so ridiculous. EA was and still is a multi-millionaire company, and almost every pack is always released with at least one or more game-breaking bugs. The next pack is Journey to Batuu game pack. This pack was made in collaboration with Star Wars. It was really strange to see The Sims and Star Wars do a collaboration, since I don't think those two fan bases interlap very often. A lot of Simmers didn't care for this pack, and it seemed just like a waste of time and money. Even if you are a fan of Star Wars and Sims, I still wouldn't recommend this pack. Many people who played it stated that it is extremely boring, and it's just a lot of talking to other Sims and doing repetitive and mundane tasks. Something else I want to talk about are kits. As I mentioned before, these are a category of DLC in The Sims 4. These are the newest types of DLC, and many people do not like them. The first kits were released in 2022 and are only about $5. They come with a small amount of items. Usually there are fashion kits and build buy kits. These were controversial because of the fact that they just seemed like they were created in order to push out smaller content in order to make more money. They really focused on making so many kits that the other DLC types suffered. Expansion packs were still being made, but for the last 3 stuff packs, there was a 2-year gap in between the Paranormal stuff pack and the Home Chef Hustle stuff pack, then another 1-year gap in between the Home Chef Hustle pack and Crystal Creation stuff pack. The latest game pack that was released was Werewolves, and that was released in 2022. The Sims team seems to just be focusing on expansion packs, which are the most expensive packs, kits, and on occasion, a stuff pack. A lot of the DLC is pretty poorly made. As mentioned before, almost every time a pack is released, there is always bugs that need to be fixed in updates. Some packs, like Dine Out, are so buggy that there are mods to fix them. I just don't understand how a modder can fix something that a multi-millionaire company like EA can't. There's also a lot of packs that could have been added into other packs. For example, there's a whole stuff pack just for laundry. In The Sims 3, laundry was added into the Ambitions pack, which was an expansion pack that added many different jobs and skills. There's also a ton of family-related packs in The Sims 4, but The Sims 3 has just one, Generations. And if you combined all of the family-related Sims 4 packs, The Sims 3 Generations would still be better. I think The Sims 4 just has a problem of releasing things before they're ready. When a Sims game is being created, they make up a name for it while it's still in development and in testing phases. For example, the game they're working on right now is called Project Renee. Project Olympus was a game that they were creating before The Sims 4. It wasn't originally The Sims 4, instead it was going to be an online spin-off game. The Sims franchise had a pretty bad track record with online games. SimCity is a prime example of this. EA wanted SimCity to be an online game, so they forced players to play online with other players. This quickly went downhill. Eventually, City Skylines was created and people went to that game, abandoning SimCity. Just like SimCity, Project Olympus wasn't doing the best. Eventually, they scrapped it in 2012. The Sims 4 was released just 2 years later. In many images, you can see the resemblance of The Sims 4 and Project Olympus. The furniture items look similar to ones that are in the game currently, clothing items as well. Obviously, Project Olympus was not fully scrapped, Originally, Project Olympus would only allow you to control one sim in a household, and it's clear it is not made for family gameplay. In The Sims 4, there is a massive amount of things that young adults can do, but there's not much for children or other life states, which would make a lot of sense for a multiplayer game. Most of the time, people probably aren't going to play with families in an online game. It's very clear to see that Sims 4 was created with Project Olympus's leftovers. And since Project Olympus was not made to be a single-player game, no wonder why The Sims 4 seems so lackluster compared to past games. I believe that none of this has ever been confirmed by EA or anyone on the Sims team, but it is very clear. My personal theory is that while Project Olympus was being created, SimCity was failing miserably due to its forced online features. Due to this, they probably believed Project Olympus would fail as well. Though now it had been a couple of years since The Sims 3 was released, and EA was most likely pressuring them to create a new Sims game. They most likely used assets from Project Olympus, made it single player, and released it while it was missing a ton of features that were in previous games. This would explain why The Sims 4 feels so rushed. I feel like a lot of things about The Sims 4 would be explained if it's true that EA pressured the Sims team to put out unfinished things. I think it's plausible and unfortunate if it's true. The Sims 4 has come a long way since its released more than a decade ago. There was a time where it seemed like they were finally listening to the community and fixing this game, but now there are bugs every update, and every time a pack comes out, they don't really seem to be adding many exciting things. And The Sims 4 just feels like a cash grab now with the insane amount of packs and kits. Hopefully they start actually listening to their community soon, because pretty soon a new life simulation game is coming out called Paralives. I really think this game is going to be good for the Sims community, since people who no longer want to support EA can play a different game now, and perhaps some real competition will make EA listen to their fan base and actually fix the game. The Sims franchise hadn't had any real competition in its 25 years of existing, and I think Paralives is going to be great. I just hope they don't get overwhelmed with this community, since it is an indie game and they have some pretty big shoes to fill. Anyways, let's get on to The Sims 3. The Sims 3 is by far the most beloved in the whole franchise, and it is my personal favorite. Many people prefer to play it over The Sims 4, but like all Sims games, it still has its fair share of controversies. The Sims 3 packs were definitely better than The Sims 4. They contained a lot more content for a more fair price. There were still controversies though. For example, the World Adventures expansion pack. This pack was the first expansion pack, and it was actually really good. The packs allowed your Sims to travel to 3 different places: Egypt, France, and China. Some aspects of the way these places are portrayed though have been deemed racist and stereotypical by some people. For example, each place is represented by a symbol, and the symbol for China is a torii gate/arch, which is Japanese, not Chinese. They probably could have done some more research on that. Another thing that is one of the main things to do when your Sim is on vacation in these places is to go into sacred areas of Egypt, France, and China and steal ancient artifacts for profit. Places like Egypt have had problems with people tomb raiding in real life, and people colonizing previously inhabited land and taking culturally significant items to sell them or put them in museums doesn't seem like the kind of thing you want to portray in a game like The Sims. Next, a stuff pack that was released for The Sims 3, which I would consider this pack to be the most iconic, for all the wrong reasons, stuff pack in the whole Sims franchise. And that pack is Katy Perry Sweet Treats. If you don't know about this pack, you are in for a sweet treat. This pack was obviously made in collaboration with Katy Perry. Everyone absolutely hated this pack. It was so hated it became the second pack ever to be discontinued. The whole pack came with items that were candy themed based on Katy Perry's Teenage Dream album theme. People really didn't like it. I think mostly because the items in the pack were just so out there. You couldn't really use them in all your builds. You could only really use these items for special occasions, and paying full price for something like that, Personally, I think this was when The Sims was at its peak. Something else that is sort of pack related, The Sims 3 has something called The Sims 3 Store. You could buy points, so you could buy Create-a-Sim items, furniture items, worlds, that kind of stuff. You could only buy singular items, and the amount of stuff that was in the store was insane. If you wanted to own everything in The Sims 3 store, it would cost about $74,000. Now, of course, buying these things are completely optional, but still, a lot of these items are extremely helpful for gameplay. For example, there's a toddler playpen that you can buy that will slowly get all of the child's skills and needs up. Also, a lot of clothing and hair items in the Sims 3 base game are very ugly. The Sims 3 was released in 2009, and the clothes are very 2000s, and not in the cute Y2K way. It's like the stuff your mom would wear in 2009. No offense to the mothers in 2009. But, having to pay for actually cute items if you're unable to get custom content really sucks. The Sims 3 didn't have the best representation in the world. It was a lot better than Sims 2 in the sense that there is a full range of colors and sizes that you can make your sim. Previous Sims games allowed for same-sex couples, but The Sims 3 was the first that allowed same-sex marriage. And while yes, you can make your own Sims gay, there is only one canonically gay pre-made sim in The Sims 3, Gobias Kofi, I believe his name is.
Hello, this is Editing River, and as I was editing and doing more research, I found that The Sims 3 actually has more LGBTQ+ characters, but they're all implied to be LGBTQ except for one family. It's Dylan and Audrey Shear, I believe, and they are actually married in the game. They're both women. They're married and they also have a son. So just wanted to say that.
And it's only implied that he's gay. Also, I found out apparently his dad's name is Gaylord. So, anyways, The Sims 3 also didn't have the best hairstyles. There weren't many Afro-textured hairstyles, and the ones that did exist did not look good at all. Then again, I think the majority of The Sims 3 hairstyles look horrendous. As I mentioned before, The Sims 3 is extremely laggy, buggy, and prone to crashes. This is mostly due to the open world. While having an open world is amazing, having to deal with lag and crashing consistently is annoying. Though people have created mods that fix some lag and performance issues. Some people also complain about how The Sims look. A lot of people compare them to potatoes, and sometimes I agree with that. Personally, I like to spend a lot of time in Create-a-Sim, so I think it's kind of easy to make your Sims look pretty. But also, people don't want to have to spend a long time in Create-a-Sim, especially considering the fact that The Sims 3 crashes a lot and you can't save in Create-a-Sim. A lot of people think that custom content is necessary to make cute-looking Sims, and I kind of agree with that, and trying to create cute Sims without custom content can take a very long time. Alright, all done with The Sims 3. I still think The Sims 3 is the best game in the franchise, and I can see myself playing it a lot in the near future. The Sims 2 is another fan favorite in the Sims community. Most people argue about whether or not The Sims 3 or Sims 2 is better. Personally, I think The Sims 2 is super fun, but it doesn't really stand out to the test of time considering it was created in 2004. Representation in The Sims 2 was so much worse than The Sims 3. You only had 2 bodies to choose from, thin and fat, and the fat body type is, well, not fat at all. Maybe for 2004 this is considered fat, but it is definitely not fat today. You could also only choose 4 skin tones, and while the hairs looked better in The Sims 2 than The Sims 3, there weren't many options for Afro-textured hair again. There is also only 1 black family and 1 Asian family in The Sims 2 base game worlds. For LGBTQ+ representation, I think The Sims 2 is actually pretty decent for 2004. The pre-made Sims in The Sims 2 actually have hidden traits that dictate which gender they are attracted to the most. And there are a couple Sims that are gay or bi. Unfortunately, none of them are actually in a relationship with anyone of the same gender. Something else in The Sims 2 is that it does not have same-sex marriage. Instead, they have a joined union. It's the exact same thing as marriage, just with a different name. Also, if a Sim has a want of getting married to someone of the opposite gender, it's 8,000 satisfaction points. But if they want to get into a joint union with another Sim, it's only 5,000. It's a little odd that they would purposefully make it different, but still, it was 2004, and this is fantastic representation for the time. Thing people love about The Sims 3 is the fact that it has story progression, which means as you continue to play and your Sims age, other Sims you aren't playing with will also age. They will also have kids, get married, that kind of stuff. The Sims 2 does not have this. If you want to play with the same family for 10 generations, the other families will remain the same from when you first started playing. This can really break players' immersions and feel very unrealistic. In Sims 2, there's a matchmaker that can set your Sim on a blind date. This Sim is usually referred to using an anti-Roma slur. This Sim is also portrayed as a very stereotypical Romanian person. This is the only time I can find the usage of a slur in The Sims 2, and as I was doing more research, I found that The Sims 3 also uses this slur multiple times. The Sims 2 was re-released in January of this year, and I don't really like how they kept this word in. I feel like it could have been very easy to change the title from G-slur matchmaker to just matchmaker, and if people get upset over that small change, I don't know, sorry you're a snowflake. First installment of The Sims. It isn't the most people's favorite game, but it's by far the most iconic and goofy game of them all. Like The Sims 2, it may have also not passed the test of time. Of course, The Sims 1 was even worse with representation. There were only 3 skin tone options and no way to change their weight. You can't really tell if The Sims 1 has any afro-textured or curly hair due to the graphics of the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if none of the hairs are intended to be afro-textured or curly. Same-sex relationships were possible in The Sims 1, but they could not marry. Originally, EA did not want to include same-sex relationships in the game because they thought it was too risky, but some code that allowed it was accidentally left in the game when it was released. They kept the code in, and now we have same-sex relationships. It's crazy to me that the Sims community that we have today that has so many people of different genders and sexualities may not have existed if the simple accident did not happen back in The Sims 1. A third-party expansion pack was created called That's Life. This pack came with thousands of new clothing and furniture items for your Sims game. These items were created as custom content, and the creators had no idea their creations were stolen and sold like this. All of the custom content that was stolen could be found for free on other websites, so the fact that this expansion pack was being sold as original content did not sit right with people. Many Simmers signed petitions for this pack to stop being sold. The Sims 1 also uses the G slur. I have no idea why The Sims is so obsessed with this word. This word appears in the Magic Town in Making Magic when referring to these two shop clerks. It appears a few other times as well. Seems like in The Sims, the people who this slur refer to are like magic or count as an occult type. It's really strange. The Sims 1 is also kind of known for being raunchy. The Sims 1 was definitely not intended for a younger audience. One of the most iconic items is the heart bed. The bed literally vibrated and your Sims could use it. It never showed anything like really bad, but still. There were also a few other items like a heart hot tub, a cake that a dancer would come out of and dance, and a dancing cage. I also found this funny video while I was looking up stuff for this video. Something I find odd is how there is all this raunchy content, but for some reason, when you have a baby in The Sims 1, you don't do the thing you usually do to have a baby. You just make your Sims kiss a bunch of times, a pop-up will show up saying, "Do you want to have a baby?" Then if you click yes, then a baby in a bassinet will appear. Strange. The first multiplayer Sims game was The Sims Online. The game was the same as The Sims 1, but had multiplayer capabilities. This game was actually pretty popular for a while, but it died down over time and EA shut down the servers due to no one playing it anymore. I don't really understand why EA is so obsessed with online sim games. Each time they seem to fail. The Sims Online, SimCity, Project Olympus. I wouldn't be surprised if the current online game they're working on, Project Renee, ends up falling flat as well. The Sims franchise has come a long way, but is still full of controversies. But anyways, thank you for listening to me yap. I absolutely love The Sims, and it is my special interest. I may make more videos like this, deep diving into Sims topics. I might even make videos like this about non-Sim things. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and maybe even subscribe. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.